Check this out real quick. This is the roller that I used to roll on this ultimate top coat on top of our epoxy countertops. If you look close, you cannot even begin to compress that. It is so hard. Now this is a piece of a 2x4 and this is a nail. Where's the flat spot? Look at that. It didn't do anything to it. I can kind of tell I whacked on it, but not much. Here, let's try another nail. There, after hitting it a whole bunch of times on the sharp edge of a nail, I did finally start to break it. But holy crap, this stuff is hard. Ladies and gentlemen, hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the kitchen renovation project. Last week, we poured an epoxy countertop. We got the main one and the little piece right over there, and it turned out awesome. Take a look at this. We get down in here close, and we have just all of this texture and sparkle and grains and swirls, and we have a couple of like defects built into it, so it looks like a little bit of a crack. This was actually a little bit of an error. Katie didn't like that one, so we tried to erase it a little bit. Kind of ugly, if I'm being honest, but right here is where the sink goes, so most of that doesn't matter. That was kind of the first one we did. It was a practice. We didn't like it. Now it's going away. I like these little details that show up in here. That crack is Katie's favorite part because it just sort of trails off into nothing. We've got the other one over here, another crack, other things. It really turned out nice. Today's project is to kind of button these things up, get them ready to do the top coat, then we'll apply the top coat, and then we can install it in the kitchen, and holy smokes, it's going to look good when we get to that point. To get this thing ready for the top coat, I started by sanding it to 220 pretty thoroughly, and then I also did the front edges and was really careful when I got to the corners, because corners are the epoxy does not roll over a corner very well. And you know, a rounded front edge, it does just fine. But these sharper corners, even though they have a round over on them, it thins out so much right there that it's really easy to burn right through the epoxy and get back to the MDF. In fact, on this corner, I did that and I just touched it back up with paint. This is going to end up underneath the backsplash, behind the stove. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be durable. I just wanted to hide it. So I was really careful on the corners. And now we're just taking 91% isopropyl alcohol and we're going to clean all of the dust off of here. I already pulled up half the plastic that was down after sanding it and rolled up the dust as much as I could and got it outside, and then I swept and vacuumed and tried to make this place as clean as possible so that when I come through to roll this stuff back on top of it, I'm not kicking dust off the floor and back up into it. I'm afraid it's not really going to be possible to make it perfect, but I did as much as I could. So now we're just going to spray some of this on, wet this thing down, and wipe it as clean as possible, get the dust off, and I will probably do this twice. So we'll just get this stuff clean. I've got my countertops all ready to go, and I'm kind of prepping my tools and my materials here. This is the top coat stuff right here. Pretty much have everything ready. Make sure I've got the mat. Yeah, I didn't grab the glossy, I've got the mat. And everything is as dust-free as I can get it right now, so we're in good shape. The last thing I've got to do before I'm really set is to take my microfiber roll. You can see just by opening it, I got chunks of debris stuck on there. So I'm going to take a whole bunch of blue tape and stick it down to my table and use it to delint my roller here. So I need this thing to be as free of imperfections as possible. Oop, came off my table. And we're getting really clean now. So this process is just a little bit fun. I'm not sure why. It seems silly, but I know I am making this very clean. And not only is it taking any of the stuff that got on there off, but it's pulling any loose fibers off of that roller that would otherwise get stuck in that top coat. So we've got one really ready to go, and I need one to be wet, I will roll the stuff on with this one. And then I need one to be dry. So after I've rolled on the wet, I'll come back with a dry roller to sort of even everything out. So look at that. I'm getting stuff off of there, on there, just by opening it. So we'll get that ready. And I have an extra one just in case I need a little bit more. We mixed in part A and part B, and now just a little bit of water. I measured this out earlier. Now it's just a matter of mixing it. You don't need the mixing paddle for this. Just a paint stick and do a thorough job. They say if you've got the consistency right on this, it's about the thickness of latex paint, and that's what I think we have about here. So it's time to dump her into our pan. I'm happy with that. And get ready to paint it on. There we go. And we should have too much for the size of our project, but we didn't really need to save what little was left in that jar anyway. And now we just take our roller and start rolling it on kind of like in a V, according to what they say. Yeah, I'm not going to try to carry that with me. I'm going to load it up here. We'll just go on. Put it on and go get more. A fuzzy. I don't want him on there at all. Well, that was just a little bit of a disaster. First of all, through no fault of the product, it was all operator error, but we rolled on the top coat and things went to hell pretty fast. I was using these rollers for all enamels and clears, mirror finish, very smooth, flat surfaces. We used this on the sample piece. We used this exact roller. Now on this, I was using the 9-inchers, but as I went and rolled on the top coat, even after de-linting these on the tape, it started to drop a little green fuzz here and there. and here and there, and that roller proceeded to come apart over the length of my 11-foot long here. It went from nothing to 1 or 2 to 8 or 10 to it looked like a Muppet exploded in the air above this thing. And there was no saving that coat. So those aren't the rollers. I very frustratedly just had to walk away because it's on there now and there's no taking it off an easy way. Just had to let it set up for a couple of days and come back and sand it. And now, to the credit of the product, of the Stone Coat Ultimate Top Coat, it took me 6.5 hours to sand through it back down to the epoxy coating. And what was interesting is I couldn't tell when I was through it until the smell changed. As soon as I hit the epoxy and started kind of sanding into that again, I noticed a smell change in the room. And that's when I knew I was finally there. It took me 18 sanding discs, starting at 80 grit, where they tell you to use 220 when you're just roughing up the epoxy to put the top coat on in the first place. So at 80 grit, I sanded the majority of the stuff back off, and then I went to 120, I think 180, and then finally back to 220 where this needed to be. It took, after a couple of days of setting up, it took a 2-day period to get back to where we started this video. So, lesson learned, I guess, white countertop, do not use anything other than white as your roller to roll on the top coat. If there's fuzzies in there now, I can't see them. That being said, I had Katie help me the second time around, so she actually rolled it on wet, and I came back with the dry to even everything out, and now it looks phenomenal. Well sanding, I was mad at the world. I wanted to burn the whole place to the ground. We got reset. Katie helped me put the top coat on, and now this is so dang cool. Come here, let's just take some closer looks at this. So, I mean, you can come down here and look. This is definitely not stone. You can see, I talked about it in a previous video, here's that line. Here's that line that shows up when you sandwich 2 pieces of MDF together. This is on the back side. This will go against the wall, so it doesn't matter. But you can see it. You can't even feel it, but I just didn't like seeing it. So now, on this side, where I put 1 piece against it, you can't see it anymore. That seam, let's see, focus. That seam disappears completely. You come up here and you look, and that corner looks very pretty. Let's see, it's kind of having a hard time focusing on this really light color. We have some of our grits and grains. Just look at how pretty the swirls, the grains, the textures, the imperfections. That's a dot that we drug through there. The crack, the fake crack. All of these colors, let's see, somewhere in here. Katie was worried that we might lose some of the shininess when we go to matte. And it's hard to pick up showing you on the phone. Looks like a bug landed on here. Let's see, I know somewhere, this right here. Very, very shiny. Let's try to get the light right. Maybe that's, there. Some shinies coming through. It definitely comes through. It's just kind of hard to point out. But look at how cool this whole thing turned out. The top coat is on. The top coat is hardened. It's been there for 3 days, I think. And today, we're going to finally set it back in the corner and see what it looks like on top of our cabinets. Katie kind of threw her back out, carrying a broken dog down the stairs the other day. That's a whole other story. So her dad's on his way over to help us slide this into place because this is just more weight than I want Katie moving right now. Okay. This is going to stick over that side a hair more.
Over here.
Yeah.
My end.
But not by a lot.
Yeah. Very nice.
this way. We still have a lot of coverage up there. All right, here's where we're at. We cut the sink hole into the countertop in place. We test fit the sink. Looks good. We pulled it back out of there. And then we have the countertops all kind of papered up so that the guy who's coming to install our backsplash doesn't have to worry about messing it up. Hopefully, with that top coat, it's so durable it wouldn't matter anyway, but this is just a precaution. He's coming here in the next couple of days. Here's a quick look. This is what our backsplash material looks like. They're going to run horizontally like that. We have some trim pieces that'll sit, don't drop it, that'll go up the edge from counter to cabinet and counter to cabinet along that window. And it's going to look really nice, and I didn't want to have to do it because I'm not a tile guy, and I told Katie, this is the last thing you want me to screw up, so let's hire somebody who's good at it. So he's coming next week. We'll be able to show that before too long here. In the meantime, I have been working underneath the floor on a little bit of plumbing, getting water up to where the sink's gonna go. I've also been out in the shop for a change, working on the island top that's gonna be made out of maple. It's gonna look a lot like the workbench top does downstairs in the man cave. In fact, it's coming from the exact same log. It's gonna be the same boards as that. We actually tried looking at walnut for this. We took the dining room tabletop and set it in place and went, oh, that's way too purple. It just did not fit in this space, so we're pivoting. We're gonna go with maple, and I think that's gonna look really good in here. Then we can get rid of the door top. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you check out the links down in the description. Go see all the stone coat products, the ultimate top coat. Again, this near disaster was of no fault to that product. It was the green, fuzzy, Kermit the Frog looking horrible roller. I will never ever use anything like that again. That brand is probably dead to me because this was so frustrating. But it looks great now, and we're getting really close to being done with this kitchen. Thanks, guys. Bye.